Congratulations to the 3 prize winners of the 2025 Van Cliburn International Piano Competition. Gold medalist and audience award winner Aristo Sham, silver medalist Vitaly Starikov, and bronze medalist Evren Ozel, who also won for best performance of a Mozart concerto. I had the privilege of hearing almost every note played by all 3 of these pianists live in the halls up until their final concerto performances, and it's remarkable how different, even complementary, they are in their artistic temperaments. They also faced unique competition journeys. Aristo Sham came bursting out of the gates, a favorite for many listeners from the very beginning, whereas Evren Ozel was a slower burn, winning over listeners with his commitment to an unwavering cantabile sound and sincere interpretations. Meanwhile, Vitaly Starikov, I confess, I always thought to be a dark horse, who took me by surprise and gradually forged one of the most unique identities amid the whole field of competitors. In this video, I will share my favorite moments from each of these 3 medalists, but first, there were several other special prizes awarded at the final ceremony. The best performance of the commissioned work, Gabriela Montero's Rock Time, went to Yangrui Cai. Then there were 3 discretionary awards given to Mikhail Kambarov and Jonas Aumiller, both of whom I profiled in detail in other videos as well, and 1 to Alice Burla, who delivered impressive preliminary and quarterfinal recitals. So before I get to the medalists, I'll share a couple of my favorite moments from her performances. The following commentary is taken from the long and detailed recap videos I've recorded at the end of each day throughout the Cliburn, which you can access in full by joining my Patreon. And I encourage you to check out the full competition performances from all of these pianists I'm discussing on the Cliburn YouTube channel.
Alice Burla was first. She came out playing a Haydn sonata. It's a bouncy little thing. She uses her arms and elbows to get leverage in an interesting way, and it helped her get just the right sound effect, I think, out of the instrument that she wanted. Third movement or section was just the epitome of calm. I thought, wow. When she waited before starting it almost felt like she was starting a completely different piece. Liggity fanfares. Very hard to do what she did. And this sort of this figuration, she controlled it perfectly at this kind of background dynamic the entire time. The way it passed between her hands was just expert, and then allowed her to just kind of play with the dialogue of all the other elements. Yeah, she brought out the strangeness of it and allowed it to evolve and then eventually dissolve. Very effective performance.
The bronze medal goes to Evren Ozel.
Evren Ozel, he began the day with what I would call the best Bach of the competition. Bright, clear, crisp, a true cantabile sound. In fact, he couldn't play anything without cantabile the entire morning. Just surgically add dabs of pedal here and there. He really listened to the hall's acoustic, which itself, I've mentioned, is a pedal, and that just shows his intelligence and his awareness. The jig, there was a great spirit to the subject, rhythmically. He's just a master of finger and hand independence. You know, he would be playing one voice and it wouldn't be influenced if another voice came in with a different character, and that's so important in Bach, and he exemplified that. Just a really tasteful, gratifying performance. And he always delivers just beautifully sculpted sounds. I thought Evren chose the right tempo for this siren song. We heard some faster undines before. I loved his overall shaping and choreography. He had all the requisite sensuousness, and he painted these sirens with alluring beauty. There's a cool pedal effect he did. You know when you do this on concert grands, when you release a pedal and you've been holding something and it goes, it's kind of a mistake and you don't like making that sound. He made the sound, maybe not intentionally, but it was right before that lonely final solitary line. It was actually really effective. And also that half step, he kind of comes in slightly early on it. I mean, he just made smart decisions with timing and voicing to paint the picture. Overall, I thought it was very beautifully rendered. Overall, just lots of detailed, subtle magic in his performance. Beethoven, honestly, is my favorite thing he played all day. He got to the primary motive, and I was like, yes, he gets the emphasis on the B. He's punctuated, he controls the stillness, but then the wildness. He knows what to do with the extremes of register and emotion and tempo and character. It was a piano change, and then we heard Evren Ozel play the K503, the big C major, and immediately Evren's sound fills the hall, even with that shy opening. Glowing, cantabile, projecting. The cadenza was really interesting. He elaborates on this like obsessive development of the main motives, gains speed, is really convincing. And then the music just wanders into this unfamiliar place. He like pauses and asks a question. Where am I? And I just thought he captured this surprising turn of phrase with great effect. I'm gonna give a best Mozart concerto to somebody. Something tells me it'll be Evren. I think the fact that he played K503 and did it that well could be rewarded for him.
The award for the best performance of a Mozart concerto
goes to Evren Ozel.
The Cai concerto, I enjoyed the performance. Evren is like, I can tell he's such a good chamber musician because he listens better than anybody. It really has a large scale sweep and coherence, and I felt that with Evren. That was really, I mean, it's kind of the highest compliment you can give. He made it sound like the great music that it is. I like how he shapes the theme. Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. It's distinctive, it's nice, you know. You hear people just shit that out. Oh God, there's so many, I'm sorry, I'm like comparing this to so many bad performances I've heard of this. You know, it's just the pianist trying to impress everybody. He wasn't trying to impress anybody with his piano playing, and I like that about it. So he shaped things I didn't always hear shaped. This rumbly alternating theme is just like world class how he shapes it. I don't hear when Evren plays it, I don't hear the alternation. I hear you feel the line of that, which is great. Second theme delivers it, no fuss. That's a part where there's a chance to be really personal and take your time, and he just plays it like the orchestra would, expressively, beautifully voiced, more or less flowing in time. That aids, again, in this larger structural conception, ensemble chamber music kind of ideal. The question one has about when the jury is listening, or if you're listening, depending on how you liked it, did you want it to be more soloistic, personal touches, little flights of fancy asides, colors, things that are just because you can as a soloist, you know? I admire what he achieved in aiming for something else that was more ensemble focused, more committed to the sweep and sincerity of the music and the coherence of the music. Made so many like really tasteful choices in service of the music, and I don't hear almost anybody do that with Tchaikovsky. His octaves were good, pretty dope. They were fire. Some would say maybe too slow at the end. I admire that Evren didn't try to push the orchestra there. He stayed in their tempo, and he did exactly what you need to do. To make it sound powerful, if you feel like it's a little too sluggish up to the very final octaves, accumulate the sound. So it doesn't matter that it's slow, it's like you're stacking the sound up inside of the pulse. And he did that enough, and it made it work. That's maturity as a musician. When you feel like maybe I'm slightly on the slower side, okay, well then what else can you do to create intensity and excitement? Well, you can build accumulated massive octaves right in the pulse that you're in, and it's gonna sound really powerful and exciting. Whenever I say he's playing like a chamber musician, I mean it as a compliment. Chamber musicians can play on offbeat waltz pulses, and some pianists just cannot play this part. You gotta feel the beat here. He was so good at it. I bet he's a good dancer. I don't know if he can dance, but he plays like he would be a good dance partner. I'm going to give this a grade of an A because musically you can't play the Tchaikovsky concerto much better than Evren did tonight. I don't think you can. I think what's beautiful about Evren is what stands out about him is that he doesn't try to stand out.
Evren Ozel's Beethoven 4. From the very opening, I heard more spiritual something. Well, his cadenza actually very successful, I thought. He's very clear in showing a counterpoint. Throughout, he really knew where his arrival points were. Lovely articulation in the B-flat lyrical section, good pacing and power. Then at the end, very tender and dreamy return. But this was really mature playing. Second movement was his best movement, and he played all three movements well. He was led by the decay of his sounds, and he's always listening to the decays and to how his pedal will sort of grab a hold of that decaying sound. Really important moment, that slow, sad descent where it begins with the notes on either extreme of the instrument and then the right hand just sort of trickles down. I thought that was beautifully placed. I thought he captured that spirit really well. Third movement, I liked his accents and syncopation. The development stuff is shaped and voiced really intelligently. He never sounded like he's just playing notes mindlessly. He's really intelligent musician. Just the way he cultivates his sound, there's sweetness and light to it, and also just an awareness of the larger shapes of the music. I don't know, it was Beethovenian. It's really important to have a good detached articulation technique in Beethoven. So not staccato, not legato, but like Evren has a lot of those, like different gradations of detached articulations. It was always a pleasure to listen to. His ending had power, very successful performance.
The silver medal goes to Vitaly Starikov.
Starikov. The list, woo, gorgeous. Just the way the lines would emerge and speak to each other amid this water play, and all of the impressionist water effects was really breathtaking. When he was playing the list, I was like, this guy's going on. In the Schumann, enchanting, impassioned, bold play. That presto quarter one, really hard technically, was just quietly brilliant, had rhythmic vigor. And then towards the end, the final cadence, he would suddenly held a note. It was totally magic. And then it, like, that one held note that just emerged out of nowhere encouraged all the rest of it to finally stop. Really cool. The final variation before the finale, with that brooding Alberti bass thing, genuinely miraculous. Hypnotic voices coming in. When it got louder, wow. Been elusive this whole competition. I haven't really figured out what to think of him. The man knows what he wants. He is committed to his sound, and he really knows these pieces. He plays them with a lot of, native fluency. His third's etude. It's in this sort of creepy left-hand bass line, but it's great. And then the right hand, he wasn't trying to wow the whole crowd with his shouty kind of brilliant thirds like most people try to do in this piece, but they were also really good, fast, rapid thirds that they just kind of. So I thought that one was actually really good and impressive technically, and in good balance with each other. Winterwind, again, I sort of stumbled into being somewhat impressed with him. It's okay that sometimes this music is not played with machine gun articulation. That's not how he's playing. Again, something about it just flew out of his fingers. When he finished this one, and there was an audible wow from someone in the audience. So there was plenty to admire in it. Prokofiev 7th Sonata, third movement. He really puts the accent on the second note. Then I kind of liked it because he starts a little more, some softer sounds. You really hear this tank starting to roll in from the distance, But as the army gets closer, the left hand gets more present, and actually it's like really effective and more terrifying how he did it. His left hand is really good at tossing dead bodies left and right on the battlefield. Sorry for the image, but he has some nice sarcastic left hand things. His doggy paddle moments, very effective, I thought, right before the recap. Bartók Second Piano Concerto. All right, but just to preface all this by saying that it was a kind of historic performance to A, be playing it at all, and B, be playing it at the level that he played it. I was just personally I couldn't really believe what I was watching. I've been iffy on Starikov throughout the competition, but he keeps surprising me, and he keeps proving himself as a finished artist with his own identity that you almost can't critique. It doesn't matter what I say because he has some internal justification for it, and he's so comfortable in his own skin with his particular sound, with his particular ideas. And even if I disagree with half of them, I see that he is integrating them into his own artistic identity. I was completely puzzled by his Chopin scherzo, fourth scherzo. I didn't feel any of the kind of dance rhythm, that triplety figure didn't seem to have the right spirit or rhythmic integrity. It was a little bit too flexible for my taste. From the opening, I was like, this is not how this piece goes, was like one of the first things that I was thinking. What is he doing? But he was able to, with so many of the flying figures and the control that he had over his own particular rubato, which was never indulgent or excessive, it was just unique. And his way of moving phrases and steering things, I mean, he really did something unique with it, and I had to give him credit for that. Even aspects of just how he handles himself on stage were funny. And actually, last night started with a bit of Victor Borge comedy, as he spent, what felt like 2 minutes just adjusting his bench and readjusting the bench. And I'm not sure if he realized if it's actually a hydraulic bench and he thought it was one of the ones that twisted manually. I don't know, but he just could not find the right height. And so there was just audible amusement coming from the audience. But at that point I was just like, this guy, what is he? How is he going to be able to manage this Bartok? But from the first note to the last note, he was in absolute command of this piece, especially rhythmically. He was the primary conductor in a way, and Marin Alsop was like his assistant conductor. I mean that. If you watch it and you're in the hall for it, you could feel that. Okay, now they did get extra rehearsal time. I think mostly because the orchestra needed it. I mean, it's a complex part. There's lots of mixed meter. There's lots of okay, Marin Alsop might be doing this, but you need to know as an instrumentalist that you're coming in on the offbeat here and that you're coming in on beat 4 here, even though it feels like it's a beat 1 because there's lots of hemiola everywhere. Technically extremely hard, and that's not even to mention, okay, it's not just large spans, it's also suddenly thirds that you also have to punctuate and create lines out of. It's also the contrapuntal element. There's lots of passages that just sound like Bartok's spin on Bach two-part inventions. His sound was actually in the hall for me, projecting more than enough most of the time and in all the crucial moments with so much vividness and assuredness, and just I think he inspired the orchestra too. And the contrast in the second movement, which is the masterpiece of the three movements. And just these stark landscapes and his sense of sound and dialogue with the timpani. The way in the middle fast section he took off but was always in control despite the... I mean, were you not impressed with that? Were you not kind of beside yourself? Color combinations with the orchestra I thought were really breathtaking and convincing. Yeah, percussive but not harsh, always in command, and he just rode the horse all the way home like this. Yeah, as you can tell, I was very impressed, very fond of this performance. Head banging, rhythmic, motivic precision the whole way through. Wrists must have like spring coils in them. Like it really feels like they're made of steel, but they're also flexible. Which is like how much can you do that? The runs toward the end just urgent but controlled. Eerie exotic string tunes, and everything, it was so integrated and well developed. So I was really impressed, and the audience responded accordingly. Many in the hall seemed as stunned at what just took place. This is more than a passable performance of this, even I think for a touring professional who comes into town and plays Bartók second. You know, with the symphony orchestra, that would have been a big statement in that professional context. But then taking into consideration that this was in the context of a piano competition where there's all kinds of limiting factors, and he came out with that kind of authority. And yeah, I thought projection and style and contrapuntal awareness, intelligence, he just knows the crap out of this piece. I feel like in many ways he may have positioned himself to medal, may have just given the statement performance, period, from the 2025 Cliburn competition.
The Nancy Lee and Perry Arbas gold medal for the 17th Van Cliburn International Piano Competition goes to Aristo Sham.
Aristo Sham, Aristo's Montero, is probably the most effective performance of the day. It was the jauntiest performance yet. Memorized, he really knew it, and it was very effective. And he acknowledged Montero. He's the only one who sort of clapped up to her. Then the final performance of the afternoon, and wowza, it was Beethoven's Hammerklavier. Aristo Sham, yeah. By the end, I was like, he might have just got himself not just to the semifinals, but the finals. Because if you play the Hammerklavier like that, you play it with people on the jury who are, multiple people on the jury have recorded all the Beethoven sonatas, that's gonna impress the crap out of them, I think. He has such a radiant sound. I remember it from the first round, but hearing it in his Beethoven, I'm like, this piece is meant for him. There was a lot of forward momentum. And there was also just a sweep to his playing that allows him to communicate this huge form of this piece. The fugal stuff and the development sounded like an orchestra was playing, I swear. Did not bore me at all 18 minutes of it, or however long it is. It just was it was like deep thoughts, a cosmic interpretation. It felt like the earth was just like slowly rotating on its axis. The reason why it worked is he's committed to just an unwavering pulse. And to do that in a slow movement, in a long slow movement like that, takes so much concentration and discipline. Now, when Beethoven starts like waxing philosophical in the upper register, this late Beethoven does this sometimes. Like Opus 126 Bagatelles, number 3, most beautiful one, E flat. But what makes those passages work in the bagatelle or in this part of the slow movement of the Hammerklavier is keeping the bass controlled. And actually the bass is what's allowing for all of that twinkly stuff to work. And he did that so well. It's just like we were enjoying the night sky above us. And it also helped serve this cosmic sense of like, there's earth, there's sky and stars up there. What is that Beethoven quote? He's like, wrote down something that he thought Immanuel Kant said, where he's like, what we have is this starry night above us and the moral law within us. And I really thought that Aristo brought that out. Also, he had this Texan crowd so attentive to all of this, you know. No one was bored. They were all just staring at this slowly evolving structure. It was great. I love that he was never like trying to insert his feelings into it. He never does that, actually. He never plays that way. He just knows that this music is bigger than any of us, you know. But there's still something human about it because he plays with cantabile too. So it was fantastic, I really thought. In the Rachmaninoff, the Red Riding Hood, number 6, I mean, it's kind of a perfect piece for him. just fierce. He has perfect hands for this piece, both for the power of the wolves and just the way his hands can so perfectly, delicately play Red Riding Hood running around. Remarkably clear and high definition kind of performance and sound, and it was also, it's fast and really thrilling. Big Bad Wolves were like super ferocious, but also fast and aggressive. I mean, I would not want to be Red Riding Hood. She stood no chance. She was pretty fleet-footed herself, but, you know, eventually got eaten alive by these beasts. There was a very powerful, decisive ending from Aristo that I thought was really awesome. Mozart Concerto, K488. Aristo comes out in kind of a silvery blue suit, very slick looking. Great socks. Aristo has legendary socks. Great dialogue with the bassoon. And he was just like looking right at him. It's all about the interaction with the ensemble, and he was one of the winners in that particular regard in his Mozart Concerto performance over others. He was extremely involved with the conductor, with members of the orchestra, and this is important. I think his involvement with them inspired them to play even better and made their sound even better, and that goes a long way. The Mendelssohn started with authority. In many ways, just technically, I mean, this piece is made for Aristo. Came in with command and rhythmic exactitude. You always knew where he was, even when he was flying. Came out with a concerto sound, no holds barred. The second movement with sensitive, nuanced shades and colors and voicings. You know, I really feel like he's like a public speaker of every note, you know. It's very like, let me share honestly and transparently with you how this music goes. On the whole, it was a calm, leisurely, loving second movement and third movement. It was blazing, fast, and fun.
he was having fun with that. He can be playful, absolutely. And Marin is such a good conductor for concertos. She was there with him for all of it. Just watching her, how good she is with these young people. It was a master watching her choreograph and coordinate some of the trickier transitions and the finales, and always staying with them, listening to their tempi and being there with them.
Aristo's Brahms. I love this piece, one of my favorite pieces ever. It's well shaped, his opening phrases. He has his own voice in it while also having a sufficiently bold and noble Brahmsian sound. His timing is impeccable. He has a very natural idiomatic way of phrasing, and he's not overly emotive, which is good for Brahms. He contains his emotion and he's able to distribute it well across larger shapes. Such a consummate ensemble musician while still preserving his identity as a soloist. He's so engaged, he's so comfortable leaning over and looking at Marin Ozel while he's playing. He's not buried in the detail of his sound, and yet he's playing with detail and shape and confidence. This is high-level professional stuff. Just the right amount of leaning and yearning. Of course, technically he's stellar. He's probably at the top. All the challenging jumps he nails in the tough chordal dotted rhythm section. He holds the drama, he pulls the rubber band, it creates a longer line. I mean, just kind of world-class Brahms playing. Let's talk about one of the best unison octave passages I've ever heard played in this Brahms concerto. It's the most notorious part of the whole piece. I think Aristo might be one of the few people on the planet who can play that kind of note perfectly, but nonchalantly. It was breathtakingly great. The jury knows exactly how hard that part is. Third movement. Loved it. There's a lot of heart and feeling in his performance. He's not just an accountant announcing all these notes. He really feels these bigger Brahmsian shapes, always in proportion. Beautiful lyrical sounds, expressive control over the high register. He drew out lines out of the tenor while kissing the high notes. And he showed that tenor line where you kind of play a note here and then you play one way up there. It's like this distant little sparkly touch at the top. He did all this, I thought, very gorgeously. Really knows his role again in this larger, it's like a piano symphony, or a symphony with piano, and he doesn't fold himself too far in the chamber aspects, keeps like that bold identity as a soloist, and he's almost like a co-conductor of the piece. Just passage after passage as he's impressive. This is a man that knows Brahms' sound and nuance, just great timing throughout. Brought just the right amount of culmination, but also charm and grandeur and all of that. I commend him for his effort throughout this. He just makes it all sound natural. You can just see how pleased Alsop is at the end. She's really proud. I think they had a strong connection throughout and gave a really memorable, possibly historic Brahms second concerto in a Cliburn. I think he may have just given one for the ages here.